Hey, read through the word. Today is March 7th, and today's lesson, I had a hard time coming up with the name for this one, but I finally decided to call it Seduction. Okay, first, today's reading, like the whole section of reading. I know you want to skip all the ites. Don't. Please go through. Make sure you read all the ites. Make sure you're paying attention. I would tell you look at the second census versus the first census and look at the numbers and see what changes. And so there's some really interesting things going on there. So, and I think I probably, let me see. Oh, I don't know if I've ever taught a lesson on that. Maybe not. All right. So, we are in Numbers chapter 25. And I'm going to read your reading is really 1 through 18, what I'm talking about today. Excuse me. But let's see. Let's start at verse 1 and we'll probably read through verse 9. It said, while the Israelites were camped at Acacia Grove, some of the men defiled themselves by having sexual relations with local Moabite women. These women invited them to attend sacrifices to their gods, so the Israelites feasted with them and worshipped the god of Moab. In this way, Israel joined with the worship of Baal of Peor, causing the Lord's anger to blaze against his people. The Lord issued the following command to Moses: seize all the ringleaders and execute them before the Lord in broad daylight, so his fierce anger will turn away from the people of Israel. So Moses ordered Israel's judges, each of you must put to death the men under your authority who have joined in the worshiping of Baal of Peor. Just then, you need to say, as he is speaking, one of the Israelite men brought a Midianite woman into his tent right before the eyes of Moses. Walked by, taking this woman into his tent with him. Everyone was weeping at the entrance of the tabernacle. And when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, and grandson of Aaron the priest, saw this, he jumped up and left the assembly. He took a spear. All right, slow down and see what you're reading. And he rushed in after the man into his tent. Phinehas thrust his spear all the way through the man's body. Okay, he's going in the man's back. Are we reading this? All the way through the man's body and into the woman's stomach. So, the plague against the Israelites was stopped, but not before 24,000 people had died. Okay. So, do you understand what just happened there? What were they doing inside the tent when Phinehas comes in to, take care of this? Okay, we got it? Okay. So, here's what's happening. So the women of Moab had befriended the Israelites and enticed them to participate in their worship to a false god known as Baal. We will discuss Baal and many types of Baals, as we continue through the Old Testament. But what you need to know is, you see it's called Baal of Peor. So these were local fertility gods. We will introduce the female consort of Baal is Asherah. And we will discuss when we get into the kingdom period. We will discuss Asherah poles. The worship of fertility gods is actual sexual relations. That is the worship. It is a perversion. It is an abomination. And it is being done by the people who claim the name of God and who claim to be His. And God will not stand for it. These are His people that are supposed to be different. What have they done? They've become just like the other people. And they're not even in the land yet. They're not even in the land. God is extremely angry with the Israelites. And He tells Moses to kill all the chiefs of Israel who had participated in idolatry and hang their bodies in the camp. And in addition, there's a deadly plague that is sent into the camp. And as God's commands are being carried out, the people are like face down in front of the tabernacle weeping because what is occurring. In walks the guy holding the girl by his hand and says, "Come on, let's go to my tent." Do you see what's happening? And Phinehas, like in the sight of everybody, they're like, isn't God judging us for this? And this guy's going to do this? Like, really? Is this what's going on? God has just called us out. We're supposed to be His representatives. We are His covenant people. And yet we are, and God will say this, God will say, we are whoring around with other gods. That's the language He will use in the minor prophets. We're cheating on Him. And we're making a mockery of worship. And Phinehas is rightly angered. So Moses' brother Aaron has a son named Eleazar. Eleazar's son is Phinehas. So this is Aaron's grandson. He is outraged by the man's disrespect for God. And he took a spear and he goes into the man's tent and he killed both the man and the woman by piercing them. Yeah. That's what he does. Okay. But God halts the plague, but not before 24,000 people had died. And so later in this chapter, you'll see that God will honor Phinehas. Because Phinehas' zeal had turned back his wrath. And then the Lord makes a covenant with Phinehas' household. And so, here's the thing. I think we have this idea that that Christians are supposed to be like, yes, we're supposed to be gentle. And yes, we're supposed to be kind. But there's a difference between being kind and being nice. I am a Southern woman. You were raised to be nice here. Well, bless your heart. All of that. And, nice ways to say things. Niceness is not a virtue, and it is not a fruit of the Spirit, nor is it a nice can be really, really unkind. There's a time for truth. And here is what it means to be the people of God. The people of God then and the people of God now. We should be rightly angered when people disrespect God, especially people that know better. It is to be rightly jealous for God and to have the zeal for his holiness. God is the only true God. All others are false. They're actually demons, and it's spiritual deception. We'll talk about that when we get to the New Testament. We can talk about it a lot on the way. So, there is something behind it, but it's not the one true God of the Bible. There is one God. We should be rightly jealous when people who claim to have the name of Christ on them glorify someone else other than Christ, who use our bodies that were supposed to be used as instruments of worship. When anybody glorifies anybody other than Jesus Christ, these are false gods. They are not worthy of worship. They are not worthy of commitment. They are not. And so we have to come to a place in our life where we know God and we love him so much and we know him to be real, that anyone speaking of God in an incorrect manner should make us angry. Jesus does not tell us to not be angry. He says to not sin in our anger. There is a place in the Christian life for anger and for awkward conversations. Because awkward conversations are not mean. They're kind. They might not be nice, but they're kind. What is there in loving kindness that lies to people about what we know to be true? So you see that a bold confrontation can actually be a Christian virtue if they're motivated by the zeal for the holiness of God. It's like my rules in my class, in my classroom, I have rules, and my students know this, that because we claim to be the people of God in my classroom, these are image bearers of God, you will not use words that will tear down the image bearer of God. That detracts from his holiness. That will not be done in my classroom. And they learn quickly. And you learn you don't use words in ways that will tear down a person, because that's tearing down the image of God. And that's disrespecting him. You're not going to do that in my classroom. It will not happen. That's the one where the other Mrs. Nance shows up. And she shows up sometimes, because it is when we see people exploiting the name of God. Go look at Jesus when people exploit the name of God for monetary gain. We see this with Phinehas, and we see this. I don't think we see the zeal for the holiness of God and for the holiness of his people, because we don't know him well enough to do that today. We've let the world inform Christian virtue instead of the word inform Christian virtue. So as you read, continue looking for model of Christian virtue in the Old Testament and reminders of God is holy, and we will treat him as such. So I'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.